The ballroom at the Greenwich Country Club gleams under the afternoon light streaming through tall windows. Champagne towers glisten like fragile crystal, each glass catching and scattering the light into fractured rainbows across white linen tablecloths. The hum of 80 guests fills the room, their voices rising and falling in a steady rhythm beneath the lilting strains of a string quartet. I sit at the edge of the head table, pretending to enjoy my lobster, fork hovering in midair as I watch my father rise from his seat. Richard Brooks stands with effortless command, his silver hair perfectly styled, his tuxedo as immaculate as armor. He raises his crystal flute, and the room falls into a hush. 35 years ago, I married my beautiful Eleanor, he begins, his voice carrying that practiced warmth, the one he uses with investors. Today, we celebrate not just our marriage, but the future of the Brooks legacy. Beside him, my mother beams, her pearls glinting under the lights, her expression as perfectly crafted as always. I've seen it before, the smile she wears when she gets exactly what she wants. It gives me tremendous pride. My father continues, to announce that I am transferring the complete Brooks Luxury Retreats portfolio to my son, Preston. Applause erupts around the room. Preston stands, smirking, soaking in the attention, shaking hands with well-wishers. Blair Montgomery, his girlfriend, appears beside him, planting a kiss on his cheek that lingers just long enough for the photographer to capture. My hand tightens around my fork, the metal clinking against the plate, cutting through the applause like a scalpel. That's an incredibly generous gift. Richard, I say, my voice steady, almost conversational. But legally, you cannot give away property you haven't owned since October 2021. The applause stutters, faltering before coming to a halt. A thick silence hangs over the room. Preston's face pales, his smirk falling away, replaced by a raw look of panic. My mother gasps, and my father's grip on his champagne flute tightens, knuckles whitening. His gaze meets mine, sharp and calculating, as if he's trying to read me, to understand how I found out. I meet his eyes without flinching. The game has changed. I can feel the tension in the air the moment I step out of the ballroom. My father's icy gaze still burns into my back as I make my way down the grand hallway. The sound of heels clicking against the polished marble floor, a steady rhythm in my ears. My hand is tight around my phone, the screen lighting up with the unread messages from Daniel. It's almost too predictable. I could have anticipated his next move. The same smug attitude he's had for years. He doesn't know yet. Doesn't know how much I've uncovered. Doesn't know how far I'm willing to go. The door to my father's study creaks open when I push it, my breath shallow in anticipation. The voices inside grow muffled, but I can already tell they've started talking about me. Daniel's voice cuts through, unmistakable. She's going to make a scene. You know that, right? She's not going to let this go. The sound of my mother's voice joins in, smooth and measured, like she's already rehearsed what to say. Let her make a scene. She's always the one playing by the rules, acting like she's better than the rest of us. But she's just jealous. Always has been. I press my back against the doorframe, the cold wood biting through the thin fabric of my coat, and I can hear my father's deep laugh from inside. He's enjoying this. Let her have her little rebellion, Richard says, the sarcasm dripping off every word. But in the end, she knows who's in control here. I don't need to hear any more. I don't need them to finish their little plan. I already know it, down to the last detail. With a steady hand, I pull my phone from my pocket, tapping the screen to open the folder I've prepared for just this moment. Bank transfers, invoices. A complete audit trail of every illegal transaction Daniel's made with the so-called consulting firm. My fingers tremble slightly as I scroll through the pages of damning evidence. But there's no hesitation in my mind. I step away from the door and slip my phone back into my bag. Time to confront them. As I turn the corner, my heart races, but my expression remains unchanged. There's nothing to fear anymore. I walk into the study, the door swinging open behind me with a soft, almost deliberate sound. The air feels thick, like they all know they've been caught but haven't yet found the words to admit it. Daniel's eyes flick to mine first, widening slightly. And that's when I know he wasn't expecting me to show up so soon. "What do you want?" "Savannah." Daniel's voice is a mixture of annoyance and something deeper, a thread of panic he's trying to bury. I don't even glance at my mother as I address her, her face already twisted into that familiar expression of feigned innocence. I've seen the bank statements, the transfers, the shell company invoices. Every last bit of it. The fraud, the embezzlement. It's all there, right in front of you. Evelyn's eyes narrow, and her lips press together tightly. "You think you know everything, don't you?" she says, her voice dripping with contempt. "You think you're so much smarter than us, so much more capable. But you've always been a disappointment, Savannah. This is just the latest in a long line of failures." I feel my jaw tighten. Her words don't hurt anymore. I've spent too many years listening to her lectures, to her endless comparisons between me and Daniel. The good daughter who always followed the rules, always did what she was told. The one who kept the family's dirty secrets. "You think this is about you," I say, the words coming out sharper than I intend. "This isn't about me, Evelyn. This is about what you've all done to get what you want." And it stops now. Richard finally speaks, his voice cold, measured. "You don't know what you're messing with, Savannah. You don't understand the stakes here." I take a slow step forward, my eyes never leaving his. "I understand perfectly. You thought you could get away with it. You thought you could steal everything from me, and I would just sit by and watch. But you're wrong." For a moment, there's nothing but silence. The air is heavy with tension, and I can feel it pressing down on all of us. Richard's gaze flickers briefly, his hand reaching for his glass of whiskey. But he doesn't take a drink. He's waiting. "They all are." "You're making a mistake," Daniel says, but there's no conviction in his voice anymore. His mask is slipping. "You can't just throw everything away. You don't understand what this means." I stare at him, unblinking. "Oh, I understand. I understand that this is about power. But guess what? I've got the power now." The realization hits him like a slap, but he's too proud to admit it. Instead, he straightens, the arrogance returning to his posture, even though his voice shakes. "You think you can just walk away from this? You think you can bring us down? You're wrong." I take a deep breath and let it out slowly, the words coming as effortlessly as if they'd been rehearsed 1,000 times. "I'm not walking away. Daniel, I'm here to make sure you never steal from me again. And when this is all over, I'll have everything you thought you were going to take from me. Every last cent, for the first time." I see it. The fear in his eyes, the crack in his armor. And I smile. Just a little. "You think you've won," he spits. "But this isn't over." I lean in closer, my voice low and steady. "Oh, it's over. It's already over." And with that, the first part of the game is done. I sit at my desk, the soft hum of the city outside barely reaching me as I focus on the documents in front of me. Each page is a revelation. The audit report, the wire transfers, the invoices, every detail meticulously documented. My fingers brush across the edges of the papers, and I can almost feel the weight of each fraudulent transaction, each stolen dollar. I pull out my phone, glancing at the latest message from Wyatt. It's time. My heart skips, but my hand remains steady. I already know what I have to do. I take a deep breath and dial his number. "It's all here," I say when he picks up. My voice calm, measured. "Everything you need to prove their lies. We're going to take them down." He doesn't respond immediately, but I hear the sound of him shifting, his breath caught in anticipation. "What's the plan?" he asks, the urgency in his voice unmistakable. I smile, though it's a cold, detached thing. "I'm going to send this straight to the FBI. But not before I make sure they can't hide behind their lies anymore." I push the papers aside and grab the flash drive, slipping it into my laptop. The files load slowly, each one a deeper dive into the abyss that is my family's deceit. "I'm on it," Wyatt says, his voice sharp with resolve. "But we need to hit them where it hurts." "You've got everything." "Right," I nod, even though he can't see me. "I have everything," I reply, my voice colder now. "The shell companies, the false invoices, the millions they've siphoned off. It's all here. The second they realize I've got the full picture, they'll panic." I hang up, the weight of what comes next settling over me. But there's no time for hesitation. I take a long look at the documents before me, knowing that every single one of them tells a story, one that Richard, Evelyn, and Daniel have desperately tried to bury. The phone rings again, and I see Wyatt's name flash on the screen. "I've got it," he says, his voice tight with purpose. "The FBI contact is ready to move. We're good to go." I press my fingers against my temple, thinking for a moment before responding. I'm going to handle the reveal myself. They're going to see exactly how deep this goes. I can already imagine the looks on their faces when the truth comes crashing down. It's not just about the money, it's about everything they've taken from me. The years of manipulation, the lies they've spun so expertly. They thought I would fall in line, thought I'd be the dutiful daughter, the one who always stayed in the background. I gather the documents, the key evidence, the flash drive, and walk out of my office. The elevator ride is a blur, my mind racing through every detail, every step of this plan. I make my way to the dinner, my heart steady, my resolve stronger than ever. Tonight is the night it ends. As I approach the venue, I can hear the laughter, the hum of conversation spilling out from the ballroom. They have no idea what's about to hit them. Inside, the chatter quiets when I enter. The looks on their faces are immediate disappointment, surprise, maybe even a hint of fear. I stand at the center of the room, the silence heavy. As I pull out the folder with the documents, I raise my voice, clear and unwavering. "You think you've outsmarted me, but you've underestimated the one thing you never thought I had: evidence." Their eyes dart to each other, confusion flashing across their faces, but I see the panic creeping in. Daniel's hands shake as he reaches for his drink, his eyes flicking between me and my father. Richard doesn't move. He stares at me, his jaw clenched tight. Knowing he's been cornered, every transaction, I continue, every dollar transferred into those shell companies, every false invoice signed, it's all here. And I have no intention of letting you walk away with it. Richard's expression flickers, then hardens. "You can't do this, Savannah," he says, his voice low but tense. "You have no idea what you're getting into." I take a step forward, not intimidated. "I know exactly what I'm getting into, Richard. And I'm done playing by your rules." His eyes narrow, his grip on his drink tightening. "You don't know what you're dealing with. I've built this family, this empire." "No. You've built lies," I interrupt, my voice rising just enough to cut through the tension. "You think you can keep doing this forever? Lying and stealing from everyone around you." Not anymore. I glance at Daniel. His face pale now. His hands still trembling. You wanted everything, Daniel. You wanted it all, our father's empire. The property. The money. But you didn't get it legally. You stole it. And now, I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth. Evelyn finally speaks up, her voice shaking slightly, but with the same practiced manipulation I've heard 1,000 times. Savannah, you don't understand. We did this for the family. We were just trying to protect everyone. Protect everyone, I scoff, taking a step closer. You've been protecting your own interests, using this family as a shield. You never cared about me. Never cared about what I wanted. The room feels smaller now, the walls pressing in on us. Richard tries to speak again, but this time, I don't let him. I reach into my bag and pull out the flash drive, holding it up for them to see. This is the truth, Richard, and it's coming for you. The silence that follows is suffocating, but in that moment, I know it's over. The truth has been laid bare. There's no hiding from it now. The tension in the room is palpable, thicker than the air itself, suffocating the once joyous atmosphere of the celebration. I watch them, my family sitting there, staring at me as if I've just torn down the walls of their carefully crafted lives. The clinking of glasses has stopped, and the murmurs of the guests are no more than a distant buzz in my ears. All I hear is my own heartbeat, steady, calm, as if it has been waiting for this moment. Daniel shifts in his chair, the unease creeping into his usually perfect posture. His fingers drum against the crystal of his glass, the sound sharp, almost frantic. You don't know what you're doing, Savannah, he says, his voice tight, struggling to maintain its usual smugness. You can't just ruin everything for us. This is our future. I lean forward slightly, the edge of my mouth curling into a smile. Your future, Daniel, I say, the words cutting through the air like a knife. Your future is built on lies and stolen money. You think you can keep playing this game forever. I'm not here to ruin anything. I'm here to expose the truth. Richard's eyes narrow, his hands gripping the edge of his glass with white-knuckled intensity. He looks at me as if seeing me for the first time in years. Truly seeing me, not as the dutiful daughter, but as the one who's finally had enough. You think this is just about money? He growls, his voice low. Dangerous. This is about power, Savannah. Power that you'll never understand. You've never been part of this family's real legacy. I take a slow breath, letting his words hang in the air for a moment before I respond. Power. I echo, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You mean the kind of power that lets you steal from your own children, manipulate them into doing your bidding, while you sit back and watch everything crumble. The silence that follows is thick, suffocating. My mother, Evelyn, finally speaks up, her voice as smooth and practiced as ever, though I can hear the edge of panic beneath her words. You've always been so difficult, Savannah, she says, leaning in just slightly, trying to maintain her composure. This isn't the way to do things. We're your family. You should be supporting us, not tearing us apart. I lean back in my chair, crossing my arms, my gaze never leaving hers. Supporting you, I say, my voice steady and cold. By letting you ruin everything I've worked for, by letting you manipulate me into silence. No, Evelyn. I'm done being your pawn. Daniel shifts again, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning with frustration. You think you're going to win this? He spits, leaning forward, the arrogance still there despite the fear flickering in his eyes. You're nothing. Just a smart little girl who thinks she can take down a family. You can't even comprehend what's at stake here. I let out a soft laugh, my eyes meeting his with a sharpness that matches his own. I comprehend perfectly. Daniel, you've made this personal. And now it's time for you to understand what happens when you underestimate someone. Richard stands, his chair scraping across the floor with a harsh sound. He moves toward me, his eyes locked on mine, his voice now low and commanding. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I built this family, this empire. I've been through worse than you can imagine. I stand slowly, the room suddenly feeling smaller, the air heavier. And what have you built? Richard, I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. A house of cards. One bad move, and it all falls apart. He stops in his tracks, just a few feet away from me now, his eyes narrowing further. You think you're the one who's going to bring it all down? He asks, his voice dangerously calm. You've always been the weak link. Savannah. Always. You think you're strong enough to handle this, to fight against us. I take a step forward, closing the gap between us, and meet his gaze without flinching. No, I say, my voice firm. But I'm strong enough to make sure you don't get away with it. For a long moment, we stand there, staring at each other, the weight of everything unspoken hanging between us. Daniel's face is twisted with a mix of anger and fear, and I can see the cracks in Richard's usually impenetrable facade. They know it's coming. They know the end is near. Evelyn, who's been silent for too long, stands abruptly, knocking over her wine glass in her haste. The red liquid spills over the table, staining the linen in a way that feels almost symbolic. You'll regret this, she hisses, her voice shaking with anger. You're ruining us all. Everything we've built. I shake my head, a bitter smile tugging at my lips. You built nothing, I say softly, my voice a razor's edge. You stole it. You lied. You cheated. And now you'll pay for it. Richard takes a step back, his face twitching with something almost resembling fear. You think this is the end, he says, his voice barely above a growl. You don't know what you're getting into. Savannah, you're making a mistake. I step closer to him, my voice quiet but steady. The mistake was ever thinking I would let you get away with this. The room falls silent again. But this time, it's not just silence, it's the calm before the storm. I know that everything is about to change. And this time, it's my turn to control the game. The air in the study is thick, the tension between us so palpable it feels like I can reach out and grab it. Richard stands rigid, his face still a mask of disbelief, while Daniel's eyes flicker with something approaching panic. Evelyn, her usual composure slipping, stares at the flash drive in my hand, the weight of it settling over her like a heavy blanket. I can almost hear the ticking of the clock behind us, the seconds, stretching into minutes. But I don't move. I just wait, letting the silence stretch longer, watching them squirm in it. You think this is going to change anything? Richard sneers, his voice tight, the sharp edge of his anger barely contained. You've got nothing. Just a bunch of paper and data. It's not real power. I take a slow step forward, not breaking my gaze from his. You don't get it, do you? Richard, I say, my voice steady, controlled. You've always thought you could hide behind your money, your name, your lies. But that's over. Evelyn's hand trembles as she reaches for her glass of wine, but she doesn't drink. Instead, she places it back down, the glass clinking lightly against the table. This isn't the way to handle things. Savannah, she says, her voice soft, a deliberate attempt at calmness. You're ruining everything. For all of us. I smile, the curve of my lips thin and cold. No, Evelyn, you're the one who ruined everything. You think this is about you. It's not. This is about what you did to me. What you did to us. Daniel shifts in his chair, eyes darting from one person to the next, trying to maintain some semblance of control. But it's slipping. You're making a mistake, he says, his voice rising with desperation. You don't understand. This isn't just about some money, some documents. You're tearing this family apart. Don't lecture me about family. I snap, stepping closer to him, my eyes narrowing. You've never cared about family. You've only ever cared about getting ahead by any means necessary. Daniel stands abruptly, knocking his chair back with a loud crash that echoes through the room. He looks at me, his face flushed with anger and fear. But there's something else in his eyes. A flicker of realization. Maybe. Or a flicker of guilt, though I doubt it will stay long. You think you can just walk in here and destroy everything? He spits, his voice venomous. You can't. I've worked for this. I earned it. You think you earned it? I respond, my voice cutting through his like a blade. You didn't earn a damn thing. You stole it. You and your little scheme. You've been stealing from me for years. And now it's time for you to pay. I take a step back, my eyes moving to Richard. His face is pale now, the mask of control slipping further. And for the first time, I see the cracks in the facade he's built so carefully over the years. You were never going to get away with it. Richard, I say, the words slow, deliberate. You think you're above the law, above everything, but you're not. You've just been lucky. Until now. Shut up, Richard roars, slamming his fist against the table, the sound rattling the silverware. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand anything. I don't flinch. Don't take a step back. Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that you're a liar. A thief. A fraud. Evelyn lets out a sharp, desperate laugh. But it's hollow, like a laugh she's been practicing for years. You'll regret this, Savannah, she says, the words trembling on her lips, barely above a whisper. We're your family. We love you. I let out a breath, cold and sharp. No, you don't love me. You've never loved me. You've only ever loved what I could give you. And I'm done giving. Daniel tries again, his voice cracking with frustration. You're going to regret this, Savannah, he warns. But there's no conviction in his words anymore. You're going to see that we'll fight back. I'm not worried about you fighting back, I say, my voice low, steady. You'll have plenty of time to think about that when you're sitting across from a judge. The words hang in the air, heavy and final, and for a moment, the room is still, frozen in that moment of realization. Daniel's jaw tightens, and I see the briefest flicker of panic in his eyes. It's there, just for a second before he masks it again. But I saw it. I saw the fear. Everything you've built, everything you thought you had, it's gone, I say, my voice firm. Final. And now you'll watch it crumble, piece by piece. Richard stares at me, his eyes burning with rage. But I stand my ground. This is over, I whisper, the words like a promise. I'm taking back what's mine. And you're not going to stop me. The room feels colder now, the silence stretching out like a taut wire, waiting for the snap. And I know, deep down, this is the moment everything changes. This is the moment I finally win. The evening air feels colder as I step into the empty hallway, the silence of the house pressing in around me like a heavy weight. My fingers grip the manila envelope tightly, the edges pressing into my skin, reminding me of everything that's at stake. Every step I take towards the study feels calculated, deliberate. This is the moment. The final step of my plan. I've been patient. waiting for the perfect opportunity. And now it's time to make my move. The door to the study stands in front of me, almost mocking in its stillness, as if it knows that everything inside is about to unravel. I push it open slowly, the hinges creaking in the quiet, the faint sound like the whisper of secrets being exposed. Richard, sitting at the desk, looks up in surprise, his face betraying a flicker of confusion that quickly turns to a mask of annoyance. "What is this, Savannah?" he asks, his voice low, but I can hear the edge in it. He's trying to regain control, but it's slipping. I don't answer immediately. Instead, I step forward, the envelope in my hand now resting on the polished wood of the desk. The sound of it landing is louder than I expect, sharp and final. I can feel Daniel's eyes on me, burning with a mixture of anger and fear as he watches me with a kind of disbelief, as if he can't comprehend what's happening. "This is everything," I finally say, my voice steady, unwavering. "This is everything you thought you could hide. Everything you thought you could steal without consequence." Evelyn stands up from her chair, her face draining of color as she steps closer, her voice trembling with a desperate edge. "You don't know what you're doing, Savannah. You think you've won, but you haven't." I turn to face her, my expression as cold as the marble floors beneath our feet. "I know exactly what I'm doing, Evelyn. This isn't about winning. It's about justice. And you're going to have to face the consequences of everything you've done." Daniel sneers, his hands clenching into fists, his jaw tight. "You really think the authorities are going to believe you over us?" he spits. "You think they'll just take your word for it? You're nothing, Savannah. You always were. A disappointment." The words hit harder than they should, but I don't let it show. Instead, I slide the envelope closer to him, the contents inside making a soft rustling sound as I nudge it forward. "You think I'm a disappointment. You think I'm weak," I ask, my voice rising slightly, though it's still controlled. "No, I'm not weak. I've been patient. But this is the end of the line for you." Richard's gaze flickers to the envelope, then back to me, his eyes narrowing. "You have nothing, Savannah. This isn't going to work." I lean forward slightly, my hands pressed firmly on the desk. "You think that because you've always been in control. You've always been able to manipulate everything, to twist the truth to fit your narrative. But that's over now." I reach into the envelope and pull out the first document, the weight of it somehow heavier than I expected. This is a notice of default. Bank of Greenwich. It's addressed to you, Richard, and Evelyn. A loan that you've defaulted on. It's all here. The money you've been funneling into those fake accounts, the false invoices, the shell companies. Every last cent you've stolen. The room is silent for a long moment as Richard stares at the document, his face paling with each passing second. His lips tremble, his composure cracking for the first time. "You can't," he begins, but his voice falters. I cut him off, my tone growing colder. "I've already sent this to the authorities. It's only a matter of time before they come for you. And when they do, there's nothing you'll be able to do to stop it." Evelyn stumbles back slightly, her hands gripping the edge of the desk as if to steady herself. "This can't be happening," she whispers, more to herself than anyone else. "This isn't real. It's real, Evelyn," I say, my voice sharp, and I see the tears starting to form in her eyes. "And it's happening now. You're going to lose everything. Everything you ever thought you controlled." Daniel jumps to his feet, his fists clenched, his face twisted with rage. "You're making a mistake, Savannah. This isn't just some game to play. You don't know what you're doing." I stand my ground, unwavering. every part of me focused on the culmination of everything I've worked for. No, Daniel. I know exactly what I'm doing. This isn't a mistake. It's the truth. And when the truth comes for you, there's no escape. Richard takes a deep breath, his chest rising and falling as he gathers what's left of his composure. You won't get away with this, Savannah. I built this family. I built everything you see here. You can't just tear it all down. I finally allow myself to smile. But it's not a smile of victory. It's a smile of cold satisfaction. You built nothing. Richard. You stole it. And now, I'm taking it back. I take one last look at them, Richard, Evelyn, Daniel. And I feel it. The weight of years of manipulation, deceit, and false promises finally breaking, shattering into 1,000 pieces. They thought they were untouchable. But in the end, I was the one who held all the cards. The truth was my weapon. And now, they're going to learn exactly what happens when you underestimate the competent daughter. I turn to leave, my steps echoing in the silence behind me. The damage is done. The pieces are in place. And no matter what they do now, there's nothing they can do to stop it. I stand at the edge of the room, the weight of the silence pressing in on me. Richard, Evelyn, and Daniel sit there, staring at me, still trying to process what's just happened. They can't comprehend it yet, the full extent of their downfall. Richard's hand trembles as he picks up the document I left on the desk, but his eyes are glassy, unfocused. He's not used to this. He's not used to being the one caught. Evelyn's face is pale, and she's clutching the armrest of her chair, as though the very act of holding on to something can steady her world. Daniel remains frozen, his usual bravado gone, replaced by the desperate flicker of someone realizing they've lost everything in the blink of an eye. I built this family. Richard mutters under his breath, his voice barely a whisper. He's trying to convince himself now. Not me. I built everything you see here. I let the words hang in the air, and for a long moment, no one moves. Then, with a slight shake of my head, I respond, my voice colder than it's ever been. You didn't build anything. Richard, you stole it. And now, it's over. The door behind me opens, and I hear the soft shuffle of footsteps entering the room. It's Wyatt. His presence doesn't faze me now. I've already done what I came here to do. I feel a brief surge of satisfaction, knowing that everything has been set in motion. The truth is out. The pieces are in place. I look back at them one last time, my eyes locking onto Richard's, and I speak softly. You'll never control me again. Never. I turn and walk away, leaving them behind in the ruins of their empire, knowing that they'll have to live with the consequences of their actions. I step into the hallway, and the door closes quietly behind me. Thank you for watching the story unfold. If you enjoyed the twists and the truth that was revealed, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below on how you would have handled this situation. Stay tuned for more gripping stories that leave no stone unturned.